You'd think that everyone would be kind of sick to death of cyberpunk by now, as a genre, as an aesthetic, as a thing in general. I mean, after all, it's no spring chicken. Blade Runner, for example, regarded as the first visual representation of the cyberpunk aesthetic, came out in 1982. Since then, its popularity has waxed and waned, but still, that crucial combination of high-tech and low-life still manages to feel resonant. Can't quite think why. Not like we're living in some kind of dystopia where the rich keep getting richer and the poor get poorer, where there aren't significant geopolitical tensions, where there's continued consolidation of social media and technology, and no matter how hard we try to stick our collective heads in the digital sand, we still have to deal with a 24/7 drip feed of news telling us how the world is going to end this particular goddamn week. Nah, not relatable at all. In any case, welcome to Beyond Sunset, a game inhabiting the cyberpunk theme by way of a collision between Blade Runner, Neuromancer, and a stolen truck hauling nothing but synthwave album covers. It is a rendition of cyberpunk that is reassuringly 80s as all heck, and the root of that is certainly in its usage of color. As I have a revise, I generally enjoy color. And I'm very happy to say that the usage of color here in Beyond Sunset does not make me want to claw my eyes out. That is an achievement. Now that may sound like me being facetious, but honestly, it's a tough thing to pull off, especially with this particular palette, so, that's a mark in the positive column for Beyond Sunset right off the bat. As for setups, the demo for Beyond Sunset here gives you tantalizingly little to go on. Unceremoniously dumped from a cryopod and forced to platform your way out, you're then informed by a nurse bot that you're not supposed to be here, and that they're not authorized to speak to inventory. Before long, however, you'll be able to acquire some means of self-defense courtesy of a wall-mounted katana, and then it's just simply a case of introducing yourself to Gentech security. As you might imagine, they're not all that particularly pleased to see the merchandise out and about, and promptly make an attempt to put you down. Thankfully, the katana here seems much more than ceremonial, surprisingly sharp, and able to take down standard enemies in a refreshing lack of swings. As it happens, it also appears to be pretty decent when it comes to deflecting bullets. Granted, you've got to look out for a very particular window of animation when it comes to triggering that guard secondary, but still, it's no less satisfying to see an enemy hoisted by their own projectile-based petard. The final and potentially most useful aspect of this katana is the fact that when a meter is full, you can then trigger a move that will steal large amounts of health and ammo from an enemy. And if you time it right, you can even take out entire swathes of enemies in front of you. Quite handy in a pinch, especially when surrounded, and in all honesty, you'll get quite good use out of it, considering that Beyond Sunset is quite fond of throwing large numbers of enemies, particularly melee-based ones, in your general direction. You might be forgiven at this point for assuming that a lot of the combat you'll be engaging in here will be mostly melee-based, but within a short space of time, you'll actually be introduced to your first projectile weapon, the energy pistol. In terms of satisfaction, it's, in all honesty, kind of meh to fire. It's very pew-pew, very much in the style of pistol weapons that you'll be very eager to graduate from and very seldom want to go back to, but even then, it does have its utility. Firstly, it doesn't require any additional ammunition, and its secondary charge shot is actually quite powerful, and even better, seems to be a pretty damn effective way of removing shields from certain enemy types. For those of you eager to get your hands on something a little bit more substantial feeling, however, fear not, for the SMG turns up almost immediately after the energy pistol, boasting a much higher rate of fire and an overall much more satisfying feel. It'll certainly stand you in good stead when it comes to the next big group of enemies you'll encounter when you loop back to the offices here, including a big pair of chunky robot boys with an interesting ground slam attack, which happily can be dodged if you put your jumping to good use. From here on out, however, the level opens up quite significantly from its initial, more linear structure, and this comes courtesy of a phone call to a mysterious character known as Raven. Eager to see you escape the facility, he directs you to find a way to disable the ICE mainframe, which protects the core security network. It's not immediately apparent how exactly you'll be able to take this mainframe down, but with a little bit of exploration, be it blasting your way through the office or heading towards the agricultural section, you'll be able to eventually discover that the cooling system is the mainframe's major weakness. Refreshingly, there is no particular order in which you need to tackle either of these sections. Both of them will result in you getting a little closer to your ultimate objective, and in the pursuit, you'll also discover a few interesting NPCs off to the side. Assisting them in their relative dilemmas are well worth the effort, one resulting in an upgrade that'll assist you in a interesting hacking section later on down the line, or, if you help out this big fella here with his loneliness and bring him a teddy bear companion, a rocket launcher. The real meat of this level, though, is the journey through the agricultural section of the map, taking you through its outer corridors, battling flamethrower-wielding robots, before plunging you through this lab here, disabling a fan, and then getting into the main sector proper. I just really love the way this looks. In a map with a lot of visual variety in general, this stands out in particular with the greenery, and not to mention those distinctive red highlights that not only provide a pleasing visual contrast, but also help guide your way as you platform through the area. Speaking of platforming, it's usually seen as a bit of a dirty word when it comes to first-person shooters, but here it seems to avail itself reasonably well, considering that you've not only got double jump and dash to potentially correct any mistakes, but also mantling of edges should you fall slightly short. All of it eventually resulting in this gorgeous view. I'm not sure I can adequately overstate how much I appreciate the mapping that's going on here within Beyond Sunset, because this map fits together like a glove. As you progress through it, as you wind your way through successive areas, you'll also find doors that will unlock routes back to previously visited areas, lending a real sense of cohesiveness to the entire location. And man, you know, a map must be good at what it's doing when it distracts me from the fact that I've been playing with a shotgun for God knows how long, and haven't talked about it on the video yet. But what else can I say other than look at it? That's one fucking nice looking shotgun right there. It's also worth mentioning that you can actually upgrade your character during the course of this map too, provided of course that you have certain upgrade pickups. These can be found in secrets, in certain hidey holes, and curiously there doesn't seem to be quite enough to cover the entire gamut of upgrades, forcing you instead to pick and choose what you think will benefit you most, be that health upgrades, ammo capacity upgrades, or even armor. So yeah, on top of those NPCs, you've also got extra incentive to go poking your nose around various parts of the level. After bringing down the cooling system for the mainframe, you might think that this level is just going to be a straight shot towards the exit, but this is where things take a little bit of a left turn, and if you haven't already, it's now time to visit Xanadu. Welcome to a virtual reality that Mark Zuckerberg could only dream about. This is the entire reason for bringing down the ICE mainframe. ICE, of course, standing for Intrusion Countermeasure Electronics, and when brought down, allows us to penetrate deeper into the system. But this, the look of it, is downright wonderful to me. They could have gone with some kind of basic hacking minigame, but no, instead you literally go inside the system, Tron style, and then spend your time combating security programs and manipulating this data stream in order for it to reach its destination. There's an upgrade that I acquired for this section, courtesy of one of those earlier NPCs, that turns my attacking projectile here into a spread shot. Quite useful, and as you might notice, my health here is denoted by hearts. It's pretty much a 1 heart per hit kind of deal. Once you run out, you don't die, but you do have to start from scratch. Overall, this constitutes but a brief section of the overall map, but still manages to stand out as a reasonably pleasant change of pace amidst all of the bloodshed and mayhem. But once you've acquired the security hash key, it is very much back to regular programming. A quick conversation with Raven triggers pretty much the end game of this map. With the hash key, he's now able to hack into security and open you an escape route, but until then, you're gonna have to deal with, you guessed it, several more batches of highly aggressive Genom security. This string of encounters leading towards the end of the map are pretty much the final test of the Beyond Sunset prologue, making sure that you've internalized how the movement mechanics work, how the weapons are most effectively used, and in general try to get you into that full flow combat groove, which in all honesty, especially in these more arena-esque encounters, bear more than a little similarity to the likes of Doom 2016. Pretty much everything that you're up against here encourages you to keep on the move, the long range and the up close and personal. Mix in that katana kill move that can refuel your health and ammunition, and yeah, it's a pretty familiar and comfortable groove to fall back into. no bad thing at all, really. A quick trip down to the lobby will see you contending with a few more reasonably sized fights, and then after that, you are pretty much home free. Or so you thought. Beyond Sunset's prologue has one last trick up its sleeve, and that takes the form of a big old boss fight. This, in my opinion, is everything you could possibly want from a boss fight. Not only does it serve to give the level a big finish, it also puts to the test every ability you have access to. First of all, it keeps you on the move thanks to that utterly relentless Gatling laser, not to mention the drones harassing you in the nearby vicinity. Then, it'll switch up to a charging attack, which you can dodge out of the way of at just the right moment if you look out for its tail, and then it'll put to test your ability to double jump over a spread of projectiles, as well as sliding underneath when it switches up the attack. And just when you think you've got a handle on this, at the halfway point, it dials up the intensity, not only increasing the speed of the attacks, but also throwing in a few extra ones here and there, just to catch you off guard. And as you can tell, I really like this boss fight. It's just satisfying in all the right ways, and bringing it down feels like the achievement it should be. To be honest, the only thing missing is maybe some congratulations message afterwards, maybe a little bit of fireworks, some confetti, but no, it falls down dead, and you are now free to leave. What lies ahead in Beyond Sunset? Well, there is a wonderfully tantalizing teaser trailer at the end of this, and if you're really curious to see what's further on down the line, Episode 1 is actually available to those who support the project via Patreon. I personally have been able to have a whirl of it myself. I even live streamed some of it fairly recently. Hopefully that'll be up on the live streaming archive channel relatively soon. And I would really recommend. It's probably not as 100% polished as the prologue is right now, but it will assuredly happen with time, and honestly, if you like what's here in the prologue, you're really going to enjoy what's there in Episode 1. But yeah, I have high hopes for Beyond Sunset as a whole, and I've got a particular soft spot for projects that utilize GZDoom as a base to create their own unique things, because yes, for all of you wondering, it is, in fact, utilizing GZDoom, and I honestly can't wait to see what comes next. Granted, there are a few things I'd like to see tweaked here and there. The swing of the katana, for example, could be a little bit more weighty. Right now, it feels a little like I'm just booping things lightly and then seeing them sliced in half and gushing like a fountain, which is amusing in its own particular way. I wouldn't mind the guns sounding a little beefier, but beyond that, it's largely nitpicky stuff, and yeah, tremendously enjoyable, aesthetically satisfying, and well worth checking out. If you're interested, it's available on Steam as a free demo. You can play the prologue right now. And if you want to get access to Episode 1, the link to the Patreon will be down in the description below. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments. And until next time, this has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.